If you're an intelligent uni student or a recent grad, I want you to ignore everything else and listen to this, because I'm going to show you the highest ROI business that you can start if you are a smart student in 2026. This business model has generated results like these in the past 18 months for me, all without cold emailing strangers, cold calling strangers, dancing on the internet, or working for someone else. I've done all of this from my college dorm room and from my parents. If this is your first time seeing me, my name is Faraz. I'm in the second year of medical school and I'm already making 100k a month with the exact business model I'm about to show you. And if you don't believe me, then go into the description and look at the links I've provided that show all the proof. And if you still don't believe me after that, then it's your loss. So if you're a smart person and you're genuinely intelligent and you overachieve compared to your peers at school, then there are really two main pathways that you can take to actually achieve financial freedom and make what they call fuck you money. The first one is the traditional path that most parents and teachers are going to tell you to follow. You get good grades, you go to a top university, you get into a role like finance, banking, maybe you become a doctor or a dentist, or an engineering role. These are stable jobs, or at least that's what people say. They're respected. Your family and friends are going to look at you and think he's done well for himself. Some of these jobs in finance, for example, will have six-figure starting salaries, especially when you're making that much money at 20 years old or whatever it is. People are going to look at you and think you've done really well. But almost all of these options have a really terrible quality of life. A junior doctor, for example, only up until recently was actually making £14 per hour. I literally pay my tutors more than this. And that is after 5 years of rigorous, difficult medical school training. If you get into investment banking or consulting, you can start at 50k a year salaries, all the way up to 100, 200k a year starting salaries for the top 0.1%. But regardless of how much you're earning in these roles, you are literally going to be working 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. or even 12. You're going to be working over 12 hours a day, tons of overtime. And if you actually do the maths on this, what you're going to find is your hourly rate is just as shit as a junior doctor, for example. And most people who are intelligent, who have done well in school, just accept this path because it's the only one that's laid out in front of them. Now, many of you have an above average IQ. And you're already going to have seen and understood that, okay, you don't want this terrible quality of life. You want to move towards something that's going to give you some financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. You're going to be able to move around when you want to. You're not going to have to go in on set days, and you can work when you want. And most of you already seen all of these different options online. You've probably even explored them. Dropshipping, SMMA, high ticket sales, crypto meme coins, content creation like YouTube videos or newsletters. Gurus are going to sell you these methods online and make a bunch of money by selling you courses, right? But they never actually show you how much money the average person who tries these actually makes. And 90% of people who try will make nothing. Dropshipping, for example, I tried when I was around 16 years old, and obviously I didn't give it a good shot, but it is much more difficult than most people let on. Profit margins are super thin, and you're competing with the best marketers in the world, okay? And dropshipping is a marketing business. You have to become one of the best marketers in the world to actually be able to compete. So this isn't something where you can just throw up a page on Shopify, run a few dookie ads, and start printing money with this. Content creation is another big one I see a lot of people throwing around. In conversations as well, I have people saying that they think that they can make a lot of money if they started posting on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. But it's actually much more complex and more difficult than you think. You genuinely have to ideate, research, script, plan. You have to be really good at all of these things. And then you have to actually execute it. You need set design. You need to be able to film things well. And the majority of people who are going to talk about content creation, for example, Ali Abdal, as an actual business path, will tell you it take 1 to 3 years at minimum to actually start making money from this. Another example, again, high ticket sales, very, very unpredictable in terms of the amount of income you're going to make. Even if you make 5 or 10k in a month, next month you could come with 0. You could get fired at any time. It's not a great business model. It doesn't give you great quality of life. And crypto, I don't really have to say much. It's like you're pretty much gambling at that point, unless you are one of those guys who is on Twitter 16 hours a day actually scrolling through the feeds and figuring out which coins to invest in. It is a full-time job. If you look at people who actually do this successfully, they're doing this full-time. Everyone can make money with one of these options. These options all work, but they all have the downsides that I've just listed out. And most of the people that you've seen actually telling you to do these models have either not done well in school, they dropped out, and usually they're not naturally that smart. That's why they gravitated towards online business. Again, they fell back on these models because this is the only thing they saw on the internet. And they didn't have any assets to pull on. All they wanted to do was follow a step-by-step plan and execute on it. Now, you are different because you are intelligent, you've done well in school, you have an asset that you can utilize to actually build a business. And you have to leverage this asset. Otherwise, you're going to end up working for someone else in a 9-to-5 in a job that you don't like. So there's a few things with intelligence, right? First of all, obviously a tutoring business like myself caters to it really well because you've done well in school. You can utilize that as proof as to why you can be someone's tutor. And it's a really nice way to bootstrap a business, get to 10K a month just by doing the work yourself and being the tutor yourself. Similarly, this skill, it compounds in business. The most important skill that you can have in business is to be able to identify constraints and forget about everything else and just focus on fixing that constraint. That's how you can do things like go from 0 to 100K a month in 18 months. And if you're actually smart, you're going to find the constraints faster. You're going to be able to focus better on that constraint rather than getting distracted by doing things like building random websites. You're able to learn the skills needed to scale much faster because, again, you have that ability. You're going to be able to learn things much quicker than everyone else because you process feedback much faster than everyone else. So you're going to improve in the skills of sales and marketing. Again, much faster than everyone else. So the fact that you have above average or high IQ is the biggest asset when you are looking at how to make money online. And I'm going to show you the exact business model that allowed us to do it as well. So the business model is tutoring. And it's not the version that most people envision when they think about it. So most of you might have even done tutoring in the past, 15 or 20 pounds an hour, but this is completely different because we're able to charge 6 to 15,000 pounds for each student that we bring on, and we have a team to actually service them. At the end of the day, what this becomes is a marketing and sales business, and all you have to do as an intelligent person is improve your skills in both of these areas. However, the benefit is because you have good grades, you can use this to bootstrap your business to start with. You don't have to hire anyone. You don't have to do anything. You just have to get your clients in and start building your revenue, start building some income. So before I go through the exact steps on how to set up a business model like this, let me show you the steps that I took, the failures that I made to get to this point. So I started because my dad actually owns a physical tutoring center. During my gap year after my A-levels, I worked there for free and I learned the ins and outs. I managed to also increase the revenue by around 33% just by looking at things on the internet, learning from Alex Hormozi's free stuff online, etc. But when I went to medical school, I had no income. And what I had to do was start a business from scratch. Because I knew how to do tutoring, I went with that. Even though I was sort of juggling and trying SMMA at that time, it just wasn't working. And I decided to take a step back, go with what was working, which was tutoring. So I found someone else's Facebook ads and I knew that these guys were doing decently because I kept seeing their ads pop up. I literally messaged them, asked them if they're working with an agency and if they can help me run some ads, right? I'd already tried people on Upwork. I tried media buyers in the past to run ads for me. None of that was working. Fortunately, these guys were doing decently. They were happy to bring me on to the agency. So I was paying them around £500 a month for managing my ads. And very quickly, we went from 0 to around 4K a month in around 90 days. And what we were doing was we were just selling £160 a month of group tutoring sessions, but it was costing us maybe £200 in ad spend to get one client. So we would break even if every student stayed for at least 2 or more months, which was decent. We managed to get to 4K a month. I got to a point where I was spending 4K a month back in ads. So I wasn't actually making any profit. I didn't have anything to take home. And that's when we dug a bit deeper. We decided we need to actually move into a high ticket pricing model. So started selling longer term packages, 1 to 2 year packages up to 8K. And immediately, as soon as I switched to that model, I actually sold my first ever sales call, which was a 5K package. So the way we structured that 5K package, which we don't actually sell anymore, but it was unlimited tutoring. I think it was up to 7 hours a week with a money back guarantee if you didn't achieve the result, which was passing the 11 plus exam. And literally 10 weeks after we switched to that model, we hit our first 20K a month, and we were pretty much maintaining that for another 6 months. But obviously being plateaued at 20K a month is never great. And that's when we had to, again, look at what we can switch up. So our next move was we made a upmarket move. So we started tutoring for Oxford and Cambridge admissions. And literally 3 months after sort of starting that, we hit our first £57,000 month. And shortly after, we hit 100K USD per month. Again, when we made that move, the first 2 calls that I took for the Oxford admissions was a 6K and a 6K sale. Now we split those into installments, but it really just broke some limiting beliefs about how much we can charge. And again, just to note, I do not go to Oxford or Cambridge, and my co-founder does, but it just shows that you don't necessarily need crazy credentials. You can partner with people who have the credentials and work with them, and obviously have your team of tutors deliver the actual tutoring. And we've literally just started helping a bunch of other uni students do the exact same thing. So George went from 0 to 7K within his first few weeks of starting with us. He had to turn off his ads because he couldn't handle more capacity. What we're having to do now is help him build out a team of tutors so he can actually scale to 20 to 30K a month. Sai went from 2K a month to 14K a month within 2 weeks. He spent £40 on ads and made 14K. That's like a 36x ROAS. We also helped Kazi go from 4K a month to 15K a month in 10 weeks. And if you compare these timelines to the other models that we were talking about, that will take you 1 to 3 years of just learning the ropes and burning your cash. Like, this is the method for you to use, especially if you have a background of being good at school. So with something like this, there is always a market to serve. People always want education. And I think for a long time, people are going to want face-to-face, human-to-human education, right? You can always use AI tools to boost and assist the education that you provide. Another thing is, the biggest thing in business is you need to have proof, okay? And again, if you have good grades or if you've tutored in the past, just ad hoc, then you're going to already start with this level of proof. You're starting with a leg up compared to any other business model. If you're starting SMMA, it's a marketing agency, and you have never done this before, compared to starting with tutoring, which you have done, you've got proof for, you can figure out which one you're going to be able to scale faster. And again, I can attest to this. I paid 7K for a program to teach me how to run a social media marketing agency. And it was 8 months of zero revenue. I made nothing. That's when I decided to make the switch to go with what was already working for me. And the final benefit is the income isn't linear. So again, you can go from 0 to 20K a month within a few months, right? And then again, when we went from 20 to 57, that was literally a few months, because all you have to do is dial up the ad spend once things are moving well, and you're going to double or triple your income. Now, how do you actually start this? Paid ads is the quickest way to scale. If you want to start completely bootstrapped, you just want to use local Facebook groups, use WhatsApp groups, use your network, build up some revenue from just getting these clients in manually, and then invest that into ads. What we do with our ads, like you've seen, our average sort of return is going to be around 3 to 6x of your money that you put into ads. And like, that is outstanding. Okay, most of you guys are going to put your money into the S&P 500 or some stocks and shares, right? You make 7% a year. With this, you can make, like Sai, for example, make 36x. Okay, and that's not typical. Not everyone is going to make that much return. For example, our companies only make an average of 3x return because we have much higher ad spends, but you're pretty much, you're turning on a money printer and you're doing the work at servicing these clients. So if you are a tutor already, or you managed to get to that stage, most people stay stuck because they are relying on word of mouth. And that is slow, that is inconsistent and unpredictable. There's no way for you to scale your revenue. The tutors who are doing serious numbers 10, 20, 50, or 100K a month plus, they have a system that is bringing in clients consistently. And we call that system the trust funnel. And to get a bit technical here is exactly how it works. So first you have video ads and static image ads. You have a full roster of advertisements that hit all of the angles of the buyer's pyramid. You then send them to a lead form or a landing page with a lead form, and you take the buyer through a questionnaire that builds up the pain that they have about their child who's underperforming in school. Funnel will need to have a VSL, which is a video sales letter, and it should have many other assets like testimonials and statistics of your pass rates. They fill in the form, they get directed to a self-booking page where they can book in for a strategy call with you, and you can take a sales call. As soon as they fill in the form or book a call, what we do is we use iMessage and WhatsApp automations along with email marketing to pretty much make an echo chamber where we hit them with value and push them to either book a call or push for the sale. That helps us make sure that the people who book calls, they show up to their calls, and the people who actually show up to their calls end up closing on our high ticket offer, which is the next stage, selling them on the high ticket offer. You need to make sure that you've got a high ticket offer that is premium with a guarantee and a lot of proof behind it. The way this is structured is super important, and you always want to be testing and iterating different offers. The final step is the sales scripts that you use to convince the client that this is something that is actually valuable to them and will allow their child to succeed in the future. To round it off, we make sure that your socials are all looking extremely premium. You've got videos, you've got Instagram Reels and TikToks and YouTube videos, which are all providing value to the parent and showing them how you teach and showing them the student results that you are achieving. So that's exactly how we do it. Now you've already got the grades and you've proved that you can perform under pressure and that you have a high IQ. Question now is what you will actually do with it. Because most people will spend the next 3, 4, or 5 years going for a career that they don't actually want to work in. And you only do that because you felt like there's no other options for you. I built this business from scratch with no roadmap, no support, and no one in my circle who was doing these type of numbers. All I had was a pressure and a desire because I knew I didn't want to end up as a doctor in a 9-to-5 that I didn't like. And that's what allowed me to go from 0 to 100K months in 18 months. If this is something that you want to do, I've put together a full-length course that goes through everything end to end. How to get clients consistently on autopilot, how to price your offer so you're charging for the outcome and not per hour, and how to hit those 10K months and then actually scale to 20 to 50K months and beyond. It's all in there and it's completely free. So check out the link in the description or click here to watch it. And if you're also wondering why I'm still in medical school when I'm making this much money, then click on this video right here.